Welcome back to the Hero's Journey Project. This is our little podcast that's on episode number 56 now. We are looking at comics from the Golden Age, our favorite superheroes from DC and Marvel from way back when, seeing how they transform into the wonderful characters that we know and love today. When we left off, we were on March of 1945. We were going to pick back up on March of 1945. So, without further ado, let me pull up the 10 comics that we're looking at for this episode. First up, Superman number 33. Kind of a goofy cover. Not really sure how relevant it is to the innards. I can't imagine that this cover is, those classic covers everyone's seeking after. But I'll tell you this. We have in this book is an appearance by Mr. Mxyzptlk. So Superman follows Lois Lane to the fifth dimension and to Mr. Plix's world and must figure out how to get back. So that's it. That's the splash page from that issue. Mxyzptlk is the court jester, but actually he's in charge because it's kind of a goofy world. Is what it is. And Superman figures out how to get them back. So Mxyzptlk in this issue doesn't actually come to Earth. Superman visits him. Following that story, Clark Kent starts off researching a country doctor for a human interest story, and Superman helps stave off an epidemic while he's there. Crazy, huh? There you go. So it's called The Country Doctor. Oh, I skipped. Looks like I skipped the title page for Lois Lane's story. Lois Lane investigates a stolen piggy bank that contained an expensive ring, and she catches the thieves without the help of Superman. That's the whole point of the Lois Lane stories. She's off on her own, doing it by herself. And then the final story in the issue is about Superman and the compass point to murder. Superman searches all points of the compass for the captain looking to scuttle his ship for half of the salvage rights and previously murdered the ship's owner. Right? So one of the captains killed the ship's owner, was going to scuttle his ship so that he could claim get paid half the salvage rights for it. Superman figures it out. Because that ain't happening on Superman's watch. Okay, next up, USA Comics number 15. You got it. You guessed it. Alex Schomburg cover. Lots of shooting, action. Bucky couldn't find a gun, so he's whacking a guy with a mace. Gotta love that. Yeah, look, I feel like Schomburg's best covers were closer to the early 40s. Look, it's an okay cover. Lots going on, lots of action. I mean, it's well drawn. That's not the issue. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't care that Captain America is busting up thieves, robbing what looks like a jewelry store, some sort of department store. Who cares? No one does. All right. But this issue is 36 pages. It's the first 36-page issue, which is down from 52 pages. And in their story, Captain America and Bucky figure out who is using a metal-destroying machine to wreck his own battleship to cover up his poor workmanship. And you're going to create a battleship and cut corners and use inferior materials. You might as well come up with a metal-destroying machine to make it seem like sabotage. And that was this is splash page for that story. The Doom of Metal. Dun, dun, dun. Next up is the Wizard, the Link Mob. Wizard gets a job at a delivery service and stops some holdups while out working. So earlier this mob was trying to hold places up, but Wizard was through the city so fast delivering his packages, he kept stopping these ding-dongs from trying to pull off their little heists. And then we move on to Wiz Comics number 63, right? Captain Marvel on the cover there. Some guy on using the Indian rope trick and disappearing into like thin air, it looks like. Captain Marvel chases down a pickpocket that keeps using a charmed rope to get out of trouble, right? So that's what the cover's all about. He's using this charmed rope to go into a different dimension, but Captain Marvel didn't like it and figures it out and puts an end to those shenanigans. Right, so there you go. There's a splash page for that. There's our buddy Steamboat on there. We don't see too often these days. I feel like he's maybe falling a bit out of fashion. And not surprisingly so. After that, Ibis the Invisible. Ibis the Invisible. I always say Ibis. Ibis exposes the fraud of a prophet using numbers to predict the future. However, it's a simple trick with the numbers, and you can make the numbers say whatever the heck you want, apparently. And Ibis was not having any of it. Wonder Woman 12. That's a fun cover. I like it. She's riding a bomb down to Venus, really. But let me tell you about that. So in this issue, there's 3 Wonder Woman stories. First Wonder Woman story has to do. See, Wonder Woman is warned by Queen Desira of Venus that there is a plot to start another world war, and a spy is working near her. All right, so Diane Prince needs to be careful for Wonder Woman. She then heads to Venus with the Third World War plotters so they can be reformed. So Wonder Woman figures it out, captures these ding-dongs, wants to send them to Venus so they can be reformed. It all seems good until you get to the next story. The Ordeal of Fire, right? So as you can see, perhaps by the splash page here, that big splash panel, that things didn't quite work out and go as smoothly as planned. So Wonder Woman follows one of the holiday girls to Venus, where she releases a Third World War plotter who looks to take over Venus. And Wonder Woman and the Queen escape back to Earth. And after that, there's a brief interlude where they have the feature called the Wonder Women of History. And in this one, they feature Helen Keller, right? So I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with Helen Keller these days, but Wonderful Woman did a lot of stuff. If you're thinking you have a handicap that's keeping you from doing things, you look to Helen Keller for inspiration. I'll tell you, she did a lot of things considering she was deaf and dumb. This may, as far as I can tell, it's her first appearance in comics, if anyone cares about that. All right, and then the final Wonder Woman story. Wonder Woman is used as a pawn to get the Venus Queen to surrender to the Earth thugs. But Wonder Woman turns the tables on them, right? So it did not work out. Wonder Woman saved the day, as usual. Saved Venus. Got the thugs to cooperate in the end. Good times, good times. All right, World's Finest Comics, number 17. You got a nice yellow cover, lots of yellow these days. Batman, Robin, Superman. Looks like a fun cover, having a good time. Now in Superman's story, well, look at that, he's all chained up. Nothing to do. Oh, except he's snapping the chains. Careful. Wonder Woman bets that a safecracker has reformed and is releasing, and Superman bets that a safecracker has reformed and is released into his custody. But the safecracker's old gang will stop at nothing to get him to work for them once again. But the safecracker tried to go straight, did his best. Some bad guys didn't want it. But Superman had faith, and he kept the faith. And this guy stayed on the straight and narrow. Good job, Superman. You did it. And there's the Green Arrow splash. I got to tell you, these days, the Green Arrow splash page is actually quite nice in the issues that they're in. In the case of the Curious Crimes, so Green Arrow and Speedy solve the mystery of the ancient Aztec scroll, staff, and treasure map, and foil the thieves trying to make off with it. So it's key to Curious Crimes because, like, well, what are these things? It's just an ancient scroll, staff, treasure map. Don't seem to add up too much. The treasure map didn't mean too much. No one ever found the treasure. They just thought it was just fun. But it turns out when you have all those items together, you can figure out what the treasure map means. Zatara, Master Magician, right? The thieves nobody saw. So it looks like these guys are kind of invisible based on the that big panel there. But Satara figures out that the men made up to look like dummies were robbing the department store at night and walking out with the customers in the morning. So that nobody saw. So no one saw anyone break in. No one saw anybody go out during the night. That's the key there. Star Spangled Kid. So Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy. This guy, you know what? I didn't write a good description for this particular story, but this is about a guy who hated being small. I wanted anything to be big. Now he was a stage performer. Let me get this right. So he was a stage performer, and everyone thought he was great and laughing at him because he was like a midget and small. But he just wanted to be big and wanted to be taken seriously, but he didn't think anyone would take him seriously as a little guy. So some guys, some thugs thought he would be a great addition to their team so that they could break into this chemical corporation or chemical manufacturer and steal from them some valuable goods. But they also have this hormone that'll help you grow, right? So the little guy was like, oh yeah, there's a hormone to help you grow. That's the company. Yeah, I want to help you break into them. And so he agrees. He's about to get the formula, but Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy catch everyone in the act. And anyway, the little guy ends up helping Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy because he doesn't want anybody to get hurt and get killed. So he said, no, this isn't for me. And in the end, he realizes that it's okay to be small. So there you go. So there's your test. Now you know I didn't actually just figure out a synopsis from out of the blue. I actually did read the story, as I do with these stories. All right, Batman and Robin, crime goes to college. So Batman and Robin are up against Dr. Dreamo, who uses people's nightmares against them. And in this story, it's interesting because Batman concocts a fear gas that he uses on Dr. Dreamo, which I thought was interesting because same sort of thing that, Scarecrow will do down the line, which in his first few appearances, Scarecrow didn't actually use the fear gas as of yet. I thought this Dr. Dreamo guy would be an interesting character, but as far as I can tell, he's not recurring. He doesn't come back. So it's too bad. But I do have to say the Batman stories these days, the art's okay. And they seem to be fairly well written, very interesting reads. So I do like them. All right, Wild Comics, number 34. Mary Marvel, Uncle Marvel on the cover. Look at that. Sure enough, looks like Mary Marvel is coming to the aid of her slightly fraudulent Uncle Marvel because he doesn't actually have any powers, but pretends to be a Marvel nonetheless. So Mary Marvel in this story helps Uncle Marvel with his new venture of finding missing uncles, which starts out well enough. Then the cases don't work out. So it's like, oh, hey, Uncle Marvel, can you help me? I've lost an uncle. He's been missing. Fine. And that's okay. The first couple times they help people, it works out that way. But after that, it turns out that the uncle, some people were just trying to get rid of a lazy uncle. Some people were trying to get an uncle who was actually an escape, who was a convict being held in jail, and they helped release a convict. And I believe he was actually an uncle in the end, but he was only missing because he was in jail. Sorry. So here's the title page. We'll call for that. Mary Marvel, Case of the Missing Uncles, right? So that's it. Give an idea of what the interior art looks like for this issue. The interior art's okay. Doesn't wow me or anything, but wish, no pun intended, it's Wow Comics. But it's okay. The art's good. It is decent art. It's not garbagey and doesn't seem kind of half-assed like we've seen some of the other issues before. Different titles. All right. After that, moving on. Young Allies number 15. All right. So, it looks Alex Schomburg, but from what I could tell, it wasn't being credited to Alex Schomburg, and which is surprising because look, you've even got Toro The fire guy bursting through the wall. I mean, come on. If that's not an Alex Schomburg signature move, then I'm losing all hope here. I don't know. But it looks like, and it looks like he's got, another crazy torture device on the cover. I mean, I'm surprised this wasn't being given to Alex Schomburg. If it is, please let me know in the comments. But as far as I could tell. Anyway, so this issue is timely issue is also 36 pages, also down from 52 pages previously. So a couple of Young Allies stories here. So the Young Allies versus the corpse of Red River. So this one was written in a few chapters. This is just the first splash page for this story. The Young Allies are in hot water when a dead Nazi agent named the Corpse came back to life, sets the Mississippi River on fire with chemicals to stop all shipping of war supplies, right? So you got this guy developed some sort of flame chemical, like it says on that bottle on the splash page, and he's throwing it in the water so ships can't get through. And they were using all sorts of crazy, like even river boats and any kind of ship that they could find to float equipment down river. The Mississippi River apparently was a big artery for this stuff, certainly according to the story. They had to put a temporary pause to that while some ding dong was going around putting everything on fire. Young Allies witch doctor's curse. The Young Allies take down a man dressed as a witch doctor willing to kill his cousins who inherit a castle so that he can search for a jewel. So apparently there's a cursed jewel that was stolen from some tribes people, I believe in the somewhere in Africa. And it was hidden somewhere in this castle by the great-grandfather, one of the guys, or by the great-grandfather of these cousins that were marked for death, trying to be murdered by this witch doctor guy. That's it. I don't know if we ever found the jewel at the end. I don't believe so. So it might still be there. All right, so that'll do it for March of 1945. Now we move on to April of 1945. So awesome. Moving right along. And of course, that brings us back to Action Comics, number 83. So in the first story, you can see him on the cover here. We're introducing Hocus and Pocus, Magicians by Accident, right? So there's a splash page. So this is the first appearance of Hocus and Pocus with their pet white rabbit, Moyton. Superman helps keep up the charade of the magicians by accident against some thugs. So these guys, like, oh, what if you really have superpowers? So one of the guys really have magic powers. One guy's like, oh, Hocus Pocus, Alakazam, whatever. And he says stuff, and then things happen, and they all seem to be very coincidental. And then Superman happens upon the scene and wants to help keep up the charade. So he makes sure that whatever the guy's wishing for or trying to conjure up actually happens. And it, so that's it. So these guys go on believing that they have their powers. Yeah. So these guys are interesting. I think they'll come back for a few issues, bunch of appearances. This is their first appearance. This is very minor Superman characters. They're not bad guys per se. But I think they're just trying to figure things out, kind of like the three nitwits in the Flash comics there. And after that, it's Zatara, the innocent thief, right? So Zatara discovers that his friend is being framed by a banker using some thugs and a lookalike to rob his own safe. So Zatara's friend was being put to jail because someone had taken a film of someone robbing the banker's safe, and so they found a lookalike for this friend that was being framed, and they film, yeah. And you got to figure these aren't days where you're just filming things on a phone and you can do things secretly, or there's secret camera in the corner and security cameras. There wasn't any of that stuff. Like, you wanted to film something, you had a big camera, like you really couldn't miss it. You were walking out of a lot of money and there's a camera there, you could see it, and it wasn't being uploaded to the cloud or anything like that. Film was on site on a reel, and it'd be pretty easy to destroy if that was the case. So that's why Zatara thought that something was fishy. Okay, now we're We're going to be with DC still. So Adventure Comics number 97. Adventure Comics number 97. Yeah, look, I know it says Simon and Kirby on the cover. It's not my style of art. I don't like it. I find that everything's kind of just, it's, I don't like the style. I can't help it. I do not like it. It's not for me. There are things in this that I do not like. And if this was during the time that Kirby was at war and he had done all this stuff in advance, and so be it. And I feel badly. It's not for me. I'm not appreciative of this kind of art. I don't know what it is. I find like the joints are knobby and there's extra lumps and bumps and stuff where there shouldn't be. Maybe that's more realistic. I don't know. The facial expressions I'm not a fan of. Anyway, all right, enough of that. First up is Sandman story, right? No curtains for Cupid. So Sandman and Sandy help a reformed criminal stay on the straight and narrow, even after his old gang try to blackmail him, right? Like they tried, right? You know, this guy he's like, no, he was gonna get, he got engaged, and at the engaged party, told his fiance, he's like, look, I've gone straight. Believe me, look, you can even invite Sandman and Sandy here, and you know they'll tell you they don't have anything on me because nothing to get. I've been good. They go over, but then so Sandman and Sandy show up and like, yep, no, I don't have anything on you. Congratulations, good for you. And then but some thugs show up and they try to get their old pal back into the gang. And, but no, just happy ending for that reformed criminal. He stays on the straight and narrow. So that's it. After that, we have Starman, who's trying to figure out what's going on with the stolen glory, right? So Starman uncovers the scheme by a wealthy man to take credit for all of the discoveries by a fellow astronomer in exchange for providing a fully equipped lab. So his two kids graduated university, and one guy said, you know what, buddy, I will give you all the equipment you need. I'll help you out, and you won't owe me anything. You don't have to pay me back anything, but I get credit for all your discoveries. So I'll give you a lab, pay you whatever. You know, you're gonna do great work, do exactly what it is you want to do, but you don't get credit for your for any of your discoveries. And this guy was really excited because he was going to be making some discoveries. So it might have been a bit of a life-sucking type of proposition for him, unfortunately. And final issue for this episode, All American Comics number 65, right? Green Lantern, Doiby Dickles on the cover. I swear to God, I don't know what it is, but the artist here really seems to put Green Lantern in some awkward poses. What is with his legs? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Doiby Dickles, you know, he's just a more roly-poly big guy, and that's fine. And he's doing strange things with the body there, but I don't know. To me, it makes sense. Green Lantern I don't know, just looks awkward and weird. All right. Maybe I'm just being too critical today. Who knows? Maybe I'm having a day where I just hate the world. But Green Lantern and Doiby Dickles fall for a scheme where a man pretends to lose Wednesday in an effort to distract him from his gang of thieves that are stealing and breaking into safes. So this guy, you know, goes to Doiby Dickles and Green Lantern. Hey, I keep losing Wednesday. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, I go to bed Tuesday night. I wake up. It's Thursday. So, you know, Green Lantern, Doiby Dickles like, well, all right, let's help you figure this out. And meantime, the guy's gang is like robbing things, and it was all a big distraction. So it was a very complicated plot device just to distract Green Lantern, Doiby. Why not? All right, and after that, we have Dr. Mid-Nite, The Curse of the Baleful Banshee. So Dr. Mid-Nite unmasks the Banshee going around extorting money from people for fear of death. You know, so he was extorting money from people, and the idea is that, you know, he created this Banshee sort of persona to kind of scare people and, you know, be like, well, if you go to the police, no one's going to believe you, but people are going to die, so pay up. So that's the whole scam there. Whatever. Nah, you know, Dr. After Mid-Nite, not really. I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing exciting to read about. Okay, so here is the wrap up, all 10 covers of all 10 issues that we've been talking about for this episode, right? I see a lot of yellow, right? At least 3 yellows on the top, 3 yellow covers on the top row, 2 on the bottom with yellow banners, and another 2 with yellow writing, and then bottom left, yellow kind of sunburst. Yellow is a big color. I don't, maybe, look, I get it, it's attention grabbing, but maybe at some point someone was like, you know what, yellow costs less, use lots of it, tons, go yellow. I expect it's just more of an attention grabbing thing, but I still think it'd be funny if it turned, if someone looked back and said, yeah, I used a lot of yellow, it cost 10 cents a gallon less. I don't know. Why not? Good times. All right, so you got a lot of 2 timely books, right? You've got 2 faucet books. You've got 6 DC books. So it's quite the ratio there. 6 DC books, 2 faucet, 2 timely. Times kind of stand out because they've got the red banner strip at the top and the trade dress. Both issue number 15s. It's kind of fun, right? So which one do you guys think is going to be worth more? Is it going to be, which one's most valuable? You do have, Hocus Pocus there, their first appearance. Wonder Woman issue has that Helen Keller possible first appearance. I do like the Wonder Woman cover. I mean, I got to say, out of all the covers here, I don't know, it's something about it. I just kind of like, there's a bit of a simplicity to it, but it's fun. Maybe I've been missing some of these H.G. Peter covers that I haven't really enjoyed one in a bit. So I coming back, although the Wild Comics one's kind of fun too. I like that. Mary Marvel covers tend to be okay. More hit than miss, I find. I like them. I don't know. Why not? Superman one seems kind of goofy to me. It's kind of a filler issue, but you have a Mxyzptlk appearance in there. So I don't know what people think. But let's see how people voted with their wallets in the world. Hotcha, there's your most recent prices for these issues. Now, what I did find interesting, for all 10 of these issues, the most recent sales are within a year, right? So they happened, within the last year, which is great. Sometimes I'm seeing some of these things like, the most recent sale I could find was 2016 or 2018, whatever, a bunch of years ago. These are all within the last year. So I want to say that it probably gives us a better idea of, their market value is a lot closer, certainly closer in terms of, we're trying to get a read on these. So as you can see, bold and blue, I put the USA Comics USA Comics number 15. It's a big issue. It's the Alex Schomburg cover, I believe. You see, this is the Young Allies one. Looks like Alex Schomburg type cover, but I don't think it's his. And you got a 5.5 commanding $635. That tells me that it probably not. It's probably not an Alex Schomburg cover, but I didn't see any markings on it. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't research it. I researched it quickly. Let's say that. So it didn't go in depth. But yeah, so I believe that's what makes the difference. The Wonder Woman issue actually had an interesting sale for 3.0 for $750. That's actually a fair chunk of change for a 3.0 for an issue that isn't a key, doesn't have any really huge characters in it, or I don't know what would make that happen. But so I actually had to compare a bunch of different grade points to the USA Comics to see that Wonder Woman, see that the USA Comics did come out ahead, because at 3.0 at 750 is actually, it's a low grade. That's quite a bit considering $2,000 for mid-grade 6.5. In a couple, there was one grade that Wonder Woman was better at, well, in terms of had a higher sale than the USA Comics, but overall, it was an overall thing when I was comparing all the grades that were comparable, because like, you know, some of them are older, some of them don't you can't really compare. If, you know, if it's like 10-year-old sale, I can't really compare that. But overall, the USA Comics won. USA Comics issue came out by a head. So, hey, look, this is great. Look, there's nothing under $100. What's the lowest sale price here? 280, 216, $216. Although there's an 8.5. I mean, to be fair, $216 for an 8.5 Golden Age comic, I still think that's probably a steal. If you're getting a couple $100 for an 8.5 Golden Age comic book, you're doing really well. Yeah, 70-something-year-old book, and walking away with it for $217 and doing okay. But yeah, everything else, it goes up, you know, by a fair amount. You know, 281, 287, then you're in the 300s, 400s, 600, 750, 2000, right? So it goes up quickly. That Action Comics 83 with the Hocus Pocus on the cover, first appearance. Doesn't seem like it's commanding huge bucks. 4.0, 345. All right, and people like it. I don't know, but you know, I can see that Superman comic. Geez, the Superman comic, if it had a better cover, if Mxyzptlk was on the cover, that would probably sell for a couple $100 more, I would think. But that is it. Those are the 10 books for the week. We finally got out of March 1945. That was another big month. You know, quarterly, bi-monthlies all kind of line up. And well, you know what? They line up on my spreadsheet for that, because that's the way it goes. You end up with like the quarterlies, so the seasonalies, you know, seasonal issues there, the quarterlies, which are, you know, spring, fall, summer, winter issues kind of thing, and then you'll have the March, April issues. I put them into March. So yeah, fun set of books, decent reads, really some good stories in there. I want to say that the storytelling is getting better on a lot of these titles. Look, there are some that are just poorly written, and it feels like the writers and artists maybe are phoning it in. And that's fine. Again, how could they predict that someone would have a podcast talking about their comics 70-some years later, right? And they weren't trying to impress me at the time. They were just trying to get their paycheck, move on, maybe check to see if their loved ones are coming home from the war. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole different era. Like I go to work every day. I do my job. I'm not thinking that 7 years down the road, someone's going to be scrutinizing the work that I do now. Certainly not. And certainly not in a medium that I couldn't even fathom would have existed on the internet and a podcast for YouTube. If you used like any of those words when you're talking to someone in the 1940s, they'd look at you like you had two heads. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant. Hope you enjoyed that. Awesome. Anyways, so that's the 10 books we're going to pick up next time with April of 1945. See how we manage with that. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, come on, tell your friends, tell people. Let's get more people talking about it. Again, if anyone wants to join in and try this kind of project, I can tell you what kind of things I do for I figure out who I'm going to read about, sort out my spreadsheet, all that fun stuff. It's just spreadsheet. It's not like it's, you know, exact science of any kind. I'm really trying to do my best to capture all of the appearances of the heroes that I want to read from that era. So that's why I have a spreadsheet. So I'm hopefully not missing anything. I feel like, and I know that I've had to go, like before I started this podcast, I know that my spreadsheet the information that I was getting from the internet isn't always complete. So I did have to go back and read a few issues and then catch myself back up in certain titles because of things that got missed, just incomplete information, things that were tough to track down and figure out, maybe the more obscure characters. But part of the fun. Part of the fun. It's all like digging for comics and looking for treasure. That's what I'm doing here. I'm trying to uncover some interesting things in these comic books, and I really hope I come across something that's, fun and newly discovered. That would be so great if I could find something that just people had passed up, in terms of relevancy later on. Anyway, thank you very much. I'm done rambling. You guys go on about your business, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks. Take care.